Hello, my name is Dylan Hahn.
Hello, I am Skullduggery8, here with another video. As you can see, I have a new sound recording device. As you also may have guessed, given the camera quality and reduced screen recording quality, I am on a different computer. Thus, the video quality may be worse, while the sound quality may be better. I apologize for any discrepancy or discomfort this change may provoke. As always, I thank you for continuing to support my channel, Skullduggery8. Today, we are going to be ranking all 31 movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Marvel movies are some of my favorite, from childhood blockbusters to intricate, complex munifications on the nature of human morality and war. Marvel movies cover all spans of genre, quality, and art. Today, we will be tiering all of them, save for one or two that I haven't seen or that I'm not comfortable ranking due to my memory. First up, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp. This movie is really shit. It's forgettable, the villain is bad, I don't really remember what happens in it, and it's one of the more recent movies on this list. I don't think it has very much value. We don't need an E tier. What is this? It's going in D tier. Just a forgettable nothing burger. Next, Ant-Man, on the other hand, is actually pretty good. It's funny, Paul Rudd is extremely charming as a main character. His powers are cool, the visuals are extremely cool. I really love the sequence towards the beginning where he gets small and he, goes around into the sewer pipes onto the bus. And I also like the sequence at the end where he zooms in all the way past an atom and a quark and fundamental particles and then gets to this infinitesimally small space. Just very, very cool. Villains and plot, nothing to write home about. It's better than Ant-Man and the Wasp, but all in all, it's a fun movie. I like the characters. Very entertaining. This will be going either in high C or low B. I'm going to feel low B for now, but that may be generous given the movies that we have afterwards. Avengers Age of Ultron. When I first watched this, I liked it. I didn't like it as much as the Avengers, so I was a little bit disappointed, but still I found it very, very enjoyable. It was so cool seeing everybody back together again. I thought Ultron and that big meteor that he lifted out of the ground was really cool. I thought all the fights were cool. I thought Vision carrying Thor's hammer was cool. And then later I kind of grew off it. I watched a video essay disparaging the film, talking about how Ultron is just another quippy comedy Marvel character when he could have been this relentless, terrifying artificial intelligence. And I was like, yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's a missed opportunity there. And while I do still harbor some of those same complaints, I do think Ultron is a great villain. I think he's charming in a way that feels different from the standard quippy Marvel character. And I also think that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver give this movie a lot of flavor. I think they're even better than this movie than the main cast. I think Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch have a great dynamic. I think Quicksilver's death at the end of the movie is pretty cool. And yeah, I still admire the plot and the characters. I really enjoy that one scene where they're also all sitting around like after a party, and they're all trying to lift Thor's hammer, and they're all talking, and Tony makes like an offensive joke, which I don't like, but that part is really funny, and it's really cool getting to flesh out these characters beyond their sort of archetypal arguments and conflicts in Avengers 1. In this one, we actually get to see these characters as human beings, and while none of them really develop other than perhaps Tony Stark and Captain America, I still think it does a great job in developing people like Thor and Hawkeye. Um, Not as for like a character arc, but just in making them feel more human, more realistic, more compelling. And so I think this movie is B tier, if not A, probably high B. It's definitely above Ant Man by a large margin, but I don't feel comfortable putting it in A just yet. So we're going to go top of B for now. Alright, next up we have Black Panther. And I'm going to save the Avengers movies all towards the end because I want to rank them like they deserve. Black Panther is a movie that I was okay with when it first came out. I thought Killmonger was obviously very cool. I didn't really get why Black Panther had a huge conflict with him, why they couldn't have talked things out. Um, and I really liked Black Panther's powers. I thought T'Challa was a great character in terms of acting, in terms of his dynamic with his sister and his family. He's not really your standard like witty, quippy Marvel character. He's more quiet and reserved and thoughtful sometimes, which I enjoy. It makes him unique. Um, but over the course of a few years, Black Panther, maybe it's just how overrated it's gotten, but it's grown off me a little bit. I don't like that um, I, I I don't like that the world building is confined to just a few scenes of like high tech stuff and like a fight. I want to explore Wakanda, and we never really get that. We just see sort of parts of it, and they're not cool parts. They feel like parts designed to show off in a movie set. And then the other critique I have is T'Challa's character has gotten worse for me over the years. I don't think he's nearly as well written as Killmonger, which is a problem if you're going to have your antagonist be much better than your protagonist. You better have a good reason for your protagonist to overcome him, and I don't think there really is one, especially because T'Challa sort of adopts parts of Killmonger's ideology after the movie's finished. I don't think he has a compelling character arc, and besides Killmonger, this movie doesn't do anything that amazing. I do think it's obviously better than Ant Man, and it's all in all not a boring movie at all. So I'll nestle it between Ant Man and Age of Ultron in B tier. We're gonna skip Civil War. I'm gonna save all the super high budget movies towards the end, just to be fun. Captain America, the first Avenger. I think that's the first Avenger. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Because that's Winter Soldier. Yeah. I watched the movie a while ago, and it's still pretty memorable to me. I think the first third of the movie is much better than the second two thirds of the film. Um, I love seeing Skinny Steve in the army and his resilience and his courage, and then him getting like super strong is super cool, breaking the world records for like running and stuff like that. Um, and his stuff with Bucky is also pretty heartfelt, I think. But then the second half of the movie, I remember it sort of meandering. I don't think Red Skull is all that cool at all of a villain. Um, but I do enjoy the ending very much. If you don't remember, Captain America: The First Avenger ends with Steve waking up, years after he was in the ice. His love, his Peggy, uh, has long, grown old without him, and he wakes up, and Nick Fury tries to trick him into believing that he's still in like the 1940s, and he doesn't believe it, and he runs out onto the street and looks around him on all these buildings, all these crazy buildings, and it ends with this phenomenal line as the music swells and it cuts to black, and it's such a great ending. I think it's a good movie. I like it more than Ant-Man, that's for sure. Black Panther, I could go either one. I'd probably prefer Black Panther because of Killmonger. Um, yeah, B tier. Okay, how long have we been recording? I just it's been 9 minutes already. Okay, Jesus Christ, you gotta hurry up. Captain America: Winter Soldier, a bit of an overrated film, if I'm being honest. And I used to buy into the hype over this film for a long time. Now, I kind of don't like it that much. Um, at least compared to how much I did like it. I used to think this film was really, really badass and had something to say. Beyond that, I thought that it was a really cool plot point for Captain America to grow disillusioned with America and to become like a rogue, a free agent because of the corruption within the institution. I thought that was really deep and insightful. Nowadays, I think it's just like a standard thriller, which it does pretty well. The elevator scene, obviously very cool. Hydra is obviously very cool. Infiltrating Shield, love all that. I don't think his relationship with Bucky really has a point in this movie. It just kind of serves to be there to add some feeling to his character. I think they could have done it a little bit more better, a little bit more emotional. Although that scene at the end where he, takes Bucky out of the river is really cool. The fights in this movie are also phenomenal. Nick Fury is phenomenal. Black Widow is really cool. Um, I would put this movie the top of B tier. Yeah, I think it's better than Ultron. No, actually, it's below Ultron. Yeah, yeah, so it's a good movie. I just think people who put this like top three, A or S tier, I don't know what they're smoking. Captain Marvel, yeah, I dropped this movie, and not just because I'm a misogynist, which I'm not. Um, so I guess I'm putting it F tier. It was just really boring, and I didn't like it. Doctor Strange, Inception, but a superhero, and it's magic, and it's so cool. It's such an inventive concept for a superhero. Um, his training arc, his character arc from scientific doctor to magical wizard man is an interesting one. I don't think it's that well executed. You know what I'm saying? Like he was this super prestigious and grounded doctor, this hard science kind of guy, and then he's suddenly thrust into like the wizarding world. And we don't really get like an internal conflict with that. I know we get like a few scenes of him being like, how did you do this? And then the ancient one like touches his forehead and he's like, ooh, but like I want there to be something more there that there's a fundamental dissonance between his history and his profession and his character and his character now. And I also think that he should have done more to progress past the asshole that he is at the beginning of this movie. I don't think he really earns like the heroism that he displays at the end of the movie. That's my complaint. But I do like the fights. I do like the visuals a lot. If I had to rank these movies based on visuals alone, this would be very, very near the top. I think it's better than Ant Man in terms of visuals. Um, and the thing with Dormammu is really, really cool. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. It's a great ending. Doctor Strange, I put it above Winter Soldier, but below Age of Ultron, B tier. Yeah, that's a good spot. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I don't think it's as good as Volume 1. However, I do think people undersell it a little bit. This movie is actually pretty great. The cast is fun, really fun as usual. We get Nebula in there, and we develop Quill and Gamora's relationship. And I also think that Ego is such a cool villain. That scene where Ego's like, "It broke my heart to plant that cancer in your mom," and it dolly zooms on Quill's face, and he's like, "What? That's so fucking cool." And then when he starts blasting him and they start fighting a fucking planet, that is just so badass. And what's his name? Yondu or whatever, Yoru, the blue guy, coming in and helping them. It's a little bit unearned for him to be like the father figure, but it's still a sweet, really compelling, really fun moment. And all in all, the movie is just really, really great. I think it's well paced. The first third is sort of like set up as you begin to sense something is wrong, and then ego kind of like grows more and more suspicious, and it's really cool. I think it builds tension well. I think it builds the payoff well. Um, that's a good movie. Honestly, above Age of Ultron, I think. Yeah, I wouldn't. Uh, I wouldn't put it A tier just yet. You can go top of B tier. God, everything's in B tier. Um, all right, what's next? What is this? Iron Man 2? Oh no, Guardians of the Galaxy 1. This movie is just fucking amazing. I love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I put it in B tier, as you can see, which is a very good ranking. Um, and Guardians of the Galaxy 1 far surpasses it. It is it brings together a cast that rivals the Avengers in the first movie. And the Avengers all get their individual movie, while none of the Guardians do. And yet the Guardians are just as fresh and compelling and entertaining of characters. They're so incredibly cool. There are so many iconic scenes in this movie. The prison escape, that's so cool. The pep talk that Quill gives. The opening scene where he's like has his headphones in. When I watched that scene, I knew this would be a great, really entertaining movie. And I love the end, where they're like where he's like breakdancing and stuff. That's so fucking cool. And it made me so sad. His mom has cancer and he found his peace within her, and it's like such a good movie. Ronan is not the best villain. He's one of the MCU's shit villains, but it doesn't really matter. The main cast is so good. The movie's so good that I'm putting it A tier. Iron Man 2. I, I don't know. C tier, I guess. This is just like an okay movie. I barely remember it. Yeah. Iron Man 3. Oh my god, Iron Man 3 is so good. If you dislike Iron Man 3 because you read the comic books or whatever, and in the comics, the Mandarin is so cool and they made him a fake, like, I hate you. Like, do not talk to me. Iron Man 3 is a phenomenal movie. You're missing out if you hate it just because it's different from the comics. Iron Man is he gets probably the most development in this character, in this movie, out of any of them except for maybe Civil War. Um, his anxiety, his panic attacks really humanizes him. His relationship with this little boy, who he meets, who's getting like bullied and shit, is just so genuine and fun to watch. Um, and the final fights, where he blows up all the suits, where all the suits come and he fights with all of them, and Pepper turns into like a monster, is just badass. Um, it's a really great movie, and I think it's a travesty that people dislike it. I would put it high B tier, probably below Doctor Strange, above Winter Soldier, and that's probably my most controversial take on this whole list. Iron Man 3 above Captain America: Winter Soldier. I am sorry, but I have explained myself. If you want to know more, come and ask me. This is just Iron Man 1. I watched this a while ago. I remember it being pretty good. Tony Stark goes through a really cool character arc over the course of all these movies, and this one is great setup um, for him. I don't remember it that well. I'm putting it top of C tier. Remember that C tier is just movies that are like pretty good, okay to pretty good, not bad by all means, because I love most Marvel movies. D tier is bad and F tier is horrible, but C tier is really not that bad. Um, Spider Man is this. What is which one? Oh, Homecoming, right? Homecoming. I'm recording something. Can you? Yeah. Okay, guys, gonna agree back. Spider Man Homecoming. It's a bit overrated because it's Spider Man. But the climax is good, I guess. I really like his relationship with Tony in this movie. When Tony's like, "Oh yeah, you don't deserve the suit" and stuff like that, where Tony sees himself in Peter, and it sets up a lot of the more emotional gut punch moments in Infinity War and Endgame, which I really enjoy. No Way Home, though, I wouldn't put it above a lot of the movies in B tier. It's gonna have to go behind Civil War, above Black Panther. Yeah, Falcon's a cool villain. that scene where Peter's in the car with Falcon, and Falcon's like, "I know who you are, Spider-Man," and it's like, damn, that's so tense. Um, but the rest of it, I don't know. There's nothing that amazing about this movie. It's B tier. It's pretty good. Spider-Man: Far From Home, on the other hand, is a wait. Is this? Yeah, Far From Home, on the other hand, is a phenomenal step upwards from Homecoming. Far From Home is just so funny and well written. The characters, the dialogue, it's very reminiscent of like a high school rom com, and it's very funny and entertaining towards the beginning. I could watch Peter on this school trip, and that could be the whole movie. I'd still watch it. Him and Zendaya have great chemistry. The scene where she finds out is really cool. Mysterio, such a cool villain, not only because of how amazing the action scenes are, how visually stunning his powers can make everything seem, but also because he's genuinely just really well acted. I don't think he's that like deep of a character. But whoever does, I don't know. Sorry for the interruption. Whoever does the acting for Mysterio, I don't remember his name, does a phenomenal job. Um, and Far From Home has such a great cliffhanger ending. Everything about this movie is so well done. I watched it in theaters. I came out thinking it was one of the best Marvel movies I've ever seen. Um, I think it's A tier. Not as good as Guardians of the Galaxy, but it is really good. I have nothing but praise. Hulk, D tier. Avengers, we're skipping. Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok would be S tier if this tier list was all movies. That is how good this movie is. It is possibly the most entertaining movie of all time. There is zero boring scenes in this entire film. Hela is amazing. Hulk is so cool. The opening scene where he goes to fucking hell and he fights that giant dragon was genuinely some of the most adrenaline-inducing superhero shit I have ever seen. When I watched that scene, I knew this movie would be some amazing shit. Taika Waititi does a fucking great job. Everything about this movie, damn, like the beginning, with him and Loki, they meet Doctor Strange, it's so cool. Him and Hal, and then the middle where he goes to that planet and fights Hulk, it's so cool. And the end, of course, the final fight, the final confrontation where he gets Surtur in, and then when he gets his powers again, and he's like, "You are the god of lightning, not the god of hammers," and then Immigrant Song starts playing, is just such an amazing climax. Every part of this movie is just amazing. It is just, I don't have enough praise for how entertaining and thrilling this movie is. If you're looking for fun, it is very, very hard to beat Thor Ragnarok. And for me, that makes it firmly S tier. Thor the Dark World, a bit overhated, but many of the complaints. Sorry, I'm winding down from that compliment session. Thor: The Dark World, a bit overhated, but many of the critiques are valid. The pacing is slow, or at least too slow. The action scenes are okay, I guess. Thor isn't really a character in this movie, um, and Malekith isn't either. So yeah, I would put it C tier. I don't think it's D, but put it bottom of C tier. Oh, I put Avengers. Whew. No, no, no. Thor. Okay, Thor 1. A pretty good movie, I think. I like him and Loki. I think that dynamic is established strong enough so that when Loki comes back in the Avengers, we're actually like, oh shit, it's this guy. We don't just think it's some random dude from a different movie. Like, imagine if I don't know, like the dude from Iron Man came back for Avengers. I wouldn't give a fuck, But Loki and Thor actually have a pretty cool brother dynamic. Loki's jealousy is well founded. And Thor's character arc, which he has a character arc in this movie, is actually pretty cool. Him massacring the frost giants, being all hubristic, and self assured, and to him at the end of the movie, where he's much more heroic, selfless, and tender. is really great to watch. Odin is great. Loki is great. This is a really good movie. I'd put a B tier. Probably below Homecoming and Black Panther. Yeah. All right, we're nearing the final movies. Let's see how long this video. Okay, we're at 24 minutes already. Okay. Hopefully we'll finish before 30 minutes so you guys don't get too bored. Um, okay, Black Widow. I watched this fairly recently in a theater, and a lot of people didn't like it, but you know, they're teenage boys and it's a superhero who's a girl. So, no, I'm just trolling. But Black Widow, I think, is actually pretty good. Um, the opening scene of this movie is one of my favorite opening scenes in any Marvel movie. And it is such a missed opportunity for them not to show her backstory. I don't know why they didn't. The only reason I am interested in a Black Widow movie is because of that flashback in Age of Ultron, where we got this super interesting, like abusive, like spy training school, and I was so interested to see that, you know, some Akame kill shit, and then they skip past it in a montage that, you know, is very good, is very cool with a great song, but it should have been the movie. Her backstory should have been the movie, and instead we get like Taskmaster, who's all right, of a villain, I guess, and some cool fights. So big missed opportunity there. If they had explored that, and if the movie was as good as the introductory scene, I think this could easily be A tier even because of how great the beginning is. However, it doesn't do that. But I still think this movie is worth its salt. Some of the scenes towards the beginning where Black Widow is like hiding, and some of like the moral questioning she goes through as far as murdering that like villain's daughter, and stuff like that is pretty interesting. Not obviously as well explored as it could be, which I could say for a lot of Marvel movies. Um, but at least it's there. It's interesting. Oh, also, I love the family dynamic in this movie. Her and Yelena and the father and the mother are just so funny together at the dinner table, when they're fighting, when they're all like, you know, trying to get on this airship. They're just so funny. I love their family. And even when they get a little bit tragic and somber, like at the dinner table where Black Sorry about that. People keep coming into my room without knocking while I'm engaging in my important filmography. Um, anyway, Black Widow, yeah, family dynamics, yeah. So the father, very cool. And yeah, when they're at the dinner table and Black Widow and Yelena are like, "Damn, you really left us like that. That was fucked up." I was like, damn, that's actually pretty realistic, you know, when you meet up with a family member who you're estranged from, that moment of like humor and love, and then, you know, quickly turning into something of a fight, of accusation. That's really realistic and really cool to see in a Marvel movie. So yeah, I think it's a high B tier, honestly. I like it more than Winter Soldier, which may be another one of the hottest takes on this list. I like it more than Iron Man 3, probably. Not Doctor Strange. Yeah, B tier. I think the tone of this movie is actually very well done, at least up until the third act. It comes across much more serious and grounded than the other Marvel movies, which I enjoy. Shang-Chi does not have a story. There is no story in Shang-Chi. There are no characters in Shang-Chi. There is fights, and there is lore, and there is setting, and there is visuals in Shang-Chi. And they're all really cool. And so this film is, I guess, the top of C tier, just because of how cool the visuals are. I do think it, if I watched it a few years ago, might be higher, but because my standards have gotten a little bit higher over the past years, I don't think I can put it above all these movies in B tier or C tier. Just because its story and its characters are just bad. They're nothing. Shang-Chi is not a character. He doesn't go through any arc. He doesn't have any conflicts. His shit with his father is, I guess it's there. It's, I don't know. This movie's just not that good. It's beyond its, you know, really great visuals, of course. Eternals, I have not watched. So I guess I'll put it in a separate tier. No watch. Far From Home, or No Way Home, I apologize, is a really good movie. I do think it's a little bit too fast paced because of all these characters it needs to introduce, all these plot points it needs to happen. It is just way too fast. It goes through like, Far From Home. I think is really much better paced. We get this first act of Peter actually being a character, being a teenager, fleshing out his relationships. Unlike this movie where it's just scene after scene after scene of stuff happening. Every single part has to move the plot forward, and that's it could be your cup of tea if you really like that sort of thing. I don't think it has enough time to develop the characters at all, and of course it does rely on some of the name recognition, brand recognition stuff. Although I do like it when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire appear, of course, and I think that Peter's final decision in this movie is really a great one. Yeah, I think this is a good movie, although it does sort of spell out the problems with the MCU, which we'll get to a little bit later, which is that there's a lack of focus on storytelling and good characters and development, and a little bit too much of a focus on really fast pacing, going through cool settings, introducing new characters instead of fleshing out old ones. Things like that I think it kind of sets a precedent for. Although this movie does it much better than some other ones. I would put it B tier, above Homecoming, and below Civil War. Next up, have not watched Multiverse of Madness. I will probably watch this movie though, although it looks a little whack. I have not watched Wakanda Forever or Quantumania as well, so we'll get those out of the way. Okay, these final five are the movies that I want to talk the most about, so let's rank them. Thor: Love and Thunder is an absolutely terrible movie. It is in my bottom five worst movies I have ever watched. To put that into perspective, it is almost as bad as Black Adam and Taxi Driver, two movies that are literally valueless, if not worse. Thor: Love and Thunder is the culmination of the problems that No Way Home alludes to. It is much too full of humor and new characters and going through all these awesome, cool looking settings without any sort of character arc or meaning to any of it. It's just not entertaining. The dialogue, oh my, is just horribly written. I don't know what happened to Waititi between Ragnarok and this movie, because Thor talking to like the Guardians at the start of this movie is genuinely some of the most unfunny, cringy, and mundane dialogue I have ever heard. Only a few of the jokes land in this movie. I don't think Thor's like his current girlfriend, I guess, having cancer. I don't really give a fuck if I'm being real. She's been away for like 20 movies and we're only now introducing her, and we're supposed to care about her without any sort of development or distinguishing character that she has, and I don't buy it. I also think that people talk about Gore being like the saving grace of this movie. That's not true at all. Gore's introduction is cliched. It's all right, I guess. It has some potential, but it's very cliched. His acting is all right. His stuff with his daughter, I don't really care. And then in the middle chunk of the movie, he isn't really that cool of a villain. I like when it goes to black and white and they fight him on that planet, I guess. But other than that, he's just kind of there. I don't think Gore's that good. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just bad. Bad movie. F tier. Sorry. Alright, final four. These final four movies, I believe, are better than almost everything else on this list. And so we will rank them, starting from the bottom up, or not bottom, right to left. These aren't necessarily in the order that I want them to be yet, in terms of ranking, but Avengers first. Such a fantastic movie. It is a movie I will be showing my children. Bringing all these characters together, and the arguments that they have, and the dynamic that they have. It isn't just a team up movie. They have so many flaws, and they talk with each other about those flaws, and that's what makes the conversation so compelling. Like when Bruce is like insecure and depressed about his Hulk persona, and Tony is trying to like use him as like a superiority chip, and Captain America is trying to be all righteous and protective, even though he's dehumanizing the others, and Black Widow is sort of just using them all, and all these great characters coming together is just such a joy to watch. And of course, the final fight where they all come together as a team. Tony makes the sacrificial play. Absolutely a joy to watch. I think it's pretty easily top of A tier, to be honest. Thor Ragnarok, yeah, it's quite a bit better. But Avengers is just so good, man. Also, Loki's pretty good in this movie, too. I also like that scene where Loki is standing in front of a crowd, and this old guy is like, "There will always be men like you," and then Captain America comes in. So badass. Yeah, top of A tier, easily. Next up, Captain America Civil War is, out of all of these movies, the best for character development. Captain America and Iron Man have very well thought out motivations based in their character arcs in Winter Soldier and Iron Man 3 and Age of Ultron. And this movie really is the first storytelling culmination of the MCU, whereas Avengers is sort of like the aesthetic culmination. I think Civil War is where these characters' ideologies and their arcs actually come into conflict in a compelling climax. I could talk forever about this movie, honestly. The airport battle was just so cool. But I have to say, my favorite scene is when Iron Man discovers the truth about Bucky, and he just goes fucking berserk, and it is so cool. I've watched that scene so many times, and he fights Captain America, and there's like this scene in the Siberian snow where he's like, using his blasters to fire this beam of energy, and it's slow-mo, and you get this really sad music. It is such a phenomenal scene. I'll play it for you right now. That scene. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing movie. Bottom of S tier. Honestly, bottom of S tier. Thor Ragnarok, I'm sorry, is still better, but, let's see if these next two movies have anything to say about that. Avengers Infinity War. Is a 10 out of 10 movie. That means it is better than films like Good Will Hunting, It's Such a Beautiful Day, Pulp Fiction. In my mind, it is the best action superhero entertainment value movie that there ever was. Thanos is the greatest MCU villain, and may even be a better villain in this movie than, like, the Joker in The Dark Knight, honestly. I don't think that's that wild of a take, and I might have it. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Everything about this movie, I've watched this movie 4 times. Each of the 3 sequences are so fucking cool. Earth to Titan, and then Thor going to that dwarf star with the Guardians is so amazing, and then Captain America, and Vision and Scarlet Witch and defending Wakanda. All these locations, all these characters, all these relationships, all these powers come to a clash, and the story comes to a head, and the ending to this movie is what makes it definitively the best MCU movie of all time. It is the best subversion in film history. And I don't mean MCU film. I think Thanos winning is the best twist in any film ever. It is phenomenal. And him sitting, watching that sunset over his garden, oh my god, it's such a good scene. This movie is one of the best movies ever. I think it's in my top four in terms of every single movie ever. And it's the top of S tier. Avengers Endgame. Last movie on this list. Also, the top of S tier. Right below Infinity War. I watched this in theaters with Andrew and Eddie and Freddie, and maybe one or two other people. But it was the greatest experience I have ever had in the cinema. Um, yeah, like the beginning, it's a little slow, I guess, that's true, but it's really, really serious and somber. When Thor fucking just murders Thanos and cuts his head off, or when Tony comes back and says, like, I lost the kid, I'm like, oh my god, this movie's gonna be so good. And it does kind of slow down a little bit in the middle, which I dislike a bit. But, and also Black Widow's death is a little, like, and also the feminist moment. And again, I am not a misogynist, but the feminist moment in this movie is a little bit cringe. Even anybody will admit that if they're being honest. But outside of those small flaws, actually the Black Widow one is a pretty big flaw. But outside of those flaws, or in spite of them, this movie is just cathartic and amazing. Iron Man's arc, his decades long movie series long arc comes to a head. He snaps his fingers, gave me chills, made me cry. Him seeing Peter, by the way, also back from the dead, and him hugging him also made me cry because it's a callback to Homecoming where like Peter wouldn't hug him. Or when Tony wouldn't hug Peter, and then Captain America staying with Peggy is a beautiful plot point. Fat Thor is fucking stupid. Terrible, terrible writing. And Hulk doesn't get a character arc. Yeah, big flaws. More I think about it, the longer I think about it, the more flawed this movie is. However, every time I think about it, every time I think about its flaws, I also have to think about that climax where Captain America is alone facing the forces of Thanos. Portals appear. Sylvester's music starts playing. Everyone's back from the dead. Black Panther's back. Ant-Man explodes. It's like da-da, and the Avengers theme starts playing, and they start Avengers Assemble, and they start fighting. Full body chills. The best experience I have ever had watching a movie. Perhaps it's flawed, perhaps in hindsight, as I remember it, it's not as good as in the moment. However, to me, it doesn't really matter. That moment at the end of this movie is just phenomenal. There are so many scenes that are amazing. There's so many ways this could have gone worse. But Marvel just concluded their saga with a genuine masterpiece. And for that, I have to admire the MCU. Alright, that is my Marvel movie tier list. I'm going to scroll down and zoom out so you can see all of it. All in all, I think it's pretty fair. Yeah, I think it looks good. Winter Soldier that low still makes me cringe a bit because of how I've been conditioned to think that movie's good. And maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on Shang-Chi. But outside of that, I think this is how I would rank the movies. Yeah. Alright, guys. That concludes another Skullduggery 8 video. I don't know how long this is. 43 minutes. Jesus Christ. Okay. Thanks for sitting through that if you did. Thanks for watching with me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Dylan Hahn.